This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. I'm Seth Merrow, sitting in this morning with Mike Callahan. Good morning, Mike.
How's it going, Seth?
Very good. Nice.
I almost said Sully, just because I'm so used to being
Seth
Sully. I was so just
I am
auto.
totally
It's like
into
autopilot.
into three different show names and everything. It's at least once a week I say something wrong.
I know. I'm gonna start saying hi, Brian. I haven't seen Brian in 4 months. So.
Funny. But a great day racing yesterday. A lot of steps along the Derby Trail. We're going to touch on all of that towards the end of the program. We will be visited by our friend Steve Bick. He's out in Southern California. He's been doing his radio show, Sirius XM, at the races from Santa Anita this past week. And so he was out for the big day racing yesterday. Going to talk some of those Santa Anita stakes with him, as well as the 3-year-old action, get his thoughts on that. But
a lot to talk about out there, too, especially with the controversial. It'd be interesting, your opinion, my opinion, and then also what Steve has to say about with the San Felipe, obviously. A lot of question marks on, the DQ. And if, I was a Bolt de Oro fan, so I thought, the DQ was viable. But I know that a lot of people on the McKenzie side of things thought that it was just race riding. So.
I was like 55.
That's exactly
I
how
was. About 55-45.
Yeah.
It could have gone either way. And I was kind of surprised they did it. But
I was too.
And
I was on the Bolt de Oro side of things, and I was still surprised.
Yeah, big race like that. Then they took a long time to look at it.
Yeah. Because there was multiple things that they were looking at. They were looking at the stretch, which we'll take a look at the whole entire race. And then the far turn was far worse than the stretch. I
thought the far turn was nothing.
Oh, okay. That's.
And maybe it was a bad angle. Maybe I was looking at the wrong thing. I didn't think the far turn was anything.
Well, it was the momentum stopper. It was the momentum. Because it's weird. It was a weirdly run race. And as we see it right around here, it was a weirdly run race because Javier kind of blitzed McKenzie and Mike Smith right off the far turn, and then all of his momentum was taken away at that point, and that's where.
Was it before that, or did you think that was the? See, to me here, the inside horse has nowhere to go. So the outside horse is trying to race ride him in.
This is where it starts to become fun to talk about it because.
He doesn't come out any. He doesn't have
he
anywhere.
Hits Bolt's hind end, and to me that just threw the horse's.
But he has nowhere to go
off.
otherwise. He's not. The outside horse is trying to keep him in a little bit. So.
Listen, this is why it's 50-50. This is why we kind of say, okay, well, if this is the infraction you're looking at, and you can say it for both sides. I just thought it was a very aggressive ride around the far turn for Javier. He really went after the horse. He kind of got about a half length in front of him, and then the only reason McKenzie was able to kind of get back on stride was because he pushed Bolt off. And Bolt kind of lost his hind end, and then he had to regain it. And down the stretch, it was just a complete tussle.
The one down the stretch I thought was more because he's kind of coming out a little bit, and they make some contact, and they do it close enough, and it was a close enough finish that you could have made the case there. But again, I was like 55-45.
Yeah.
In favor of something having happened, but when it's that close, they could have gone either way. And
right around here, there's nothing that happens, but right as you get towards the finish line, it kind of comes out again.
He comes out, and you can see it on the head on there. They do bump a little bit, and again, the finish is so close, you can make the argument there.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the flip-flop is obviously the winner officially is Bolt of the San Felipe, but both of them ran tremendous. I thought those were absolutely the top two horses after yesterday.
Because on the turn, you thought Bolt d'Oro was going to blow right by.
He
gets the momentum going, and you thought, he's going.
That's where the infraction was.
But I don't know if that was the case, or Mackenzie just, here's a horse coming to me, and he's that good that he re-engaged.
I don't think Mike actually thought Javier was going to go as quick as he did, because Javier was kind of all in around the far turn. You kind of thought he would methodically wait, and then down the stretch they would go. But again, Javier kind of used that pounce approach, and I think it caught Mike off guard. He tried to come back out at Bolt, and that's where they kind of hit. And again, it's 50-50. That's my opinion, it's your opinion. Everybody else, when we were talking in the office, I was with Shannon, and we were kind of thinking about what is everybody else thinking right now. And I think you could kind of get half people on one, half people on the other. So.
In a couple of minutes, though, we will look at the flip side of the coin with what I thought was a horrible non-DQ down at Tampa, but we'll do that in a few. Let's go through some of the stakes action yesterday at Aqueduct. Obviously, a big day with the Gotham and the undercard. And again, when we get Mr. Bick on, we'll talk some Gotham, but the undercard, the Tom Fool for sprinters. I thought great stuff coming off of the toboggan. We talked with Dylan Davies yesterday. I thought he was going to be tough. I asked Dylan about the cutback, and he was maybe a little concerned going from the 7 to the 6. Great stuff. Winds up running third in here, the number 3 horse. The number 5, Skylar Scramjet, wins. I have to admit, I was in here handicapping. I kind of whiffed here. I missed 9-2 on the morning line. The betting public nailed it, making Skylar Scramjet the 5-2 favorite, coming off a win last time at an optional claimer, but it was on a money track. Threw in a triple-digit buyer towards the end of December. So this one was certainly live. As I say, I just kind of whiffed and missed it. Nice late run here from Dushare to get second, but was really no threat for the winner in here. Nice run by Skylar Scramjet.
I was a Dushare fan in this race, and kind of you didn't get a chance because we were watching the stretch run, but at the start, he kind of lost 3 or 4 lengths, kind of broke poorly. Skylar Scramjet did a nice job rating. Green Grotto is a horse that always goes time and time again. Rated right off the pace, was able to get the jump on him at the top of the stretch and kind of went away. So nice performance.
It was a nice win by the winner. And as I say, I whiffed there a little bit, but we live to fight another day. The Heavenly Prize, this one I didn't whiff on. I like Divine Miss Gray in here in the Heavenly Prize. This was Fillies and Mares going the 1-turn mile. Divine Miss Gray is going to be the number 1 horse. Win this one pretty easily as the even money favorite. Holiday Disguise second, Frostwise third. But again, she looked pretty good coming in, had won the Interborough just before. That was the second of 2 straight wins. So this is now a 3-race win streak. And as I say, wins pretty easily. I mean, the second place horse is
I was surprised,
well clear.
Knowing her race dynamics, that no one in a short horse field decided to attack her. It was like everybody was kind of waiting off the pace. Even Frostwise, a horse that I know because we've had him a couple times on OTB Live. I was shocked to see him not really go and kind of get a little aggressive to try to win the race because fractions were slow, and at the top of the stretch, you knew it was just a matter of time before this horse was going to open up.
Yeah, it looked pretty good there. Again, winning off easily in the second place finisher. Quite a ways ahead as well. A little bit earlier on the card, it was the Stymie sprinters going the 1-turn mile, or hybrid sprinters, I guess, at a 1-turn mile, 4-year-olds and up. Again, I liked Harlan Punch in here, and Harlan Punch got it done. Dylan Davis on board, so followed up our visit with a nice stakes win on Saturday afternoon. And this horse for David Jacobson was coming off a triple-digit buyer in an optional claimer, and followed it up pretty nicely yesterday. Number 2 horse, Harlan Punch, chart margin of 7 in here. Backside of the Moon for Leo O'Brien, who himself was coming off a nice win, won the Jazza last time out, winds up a pretty clear second in here, and hit it once more, winds up third, but Harlan Punch, nice winner, again, off by chart margin of 7 lengths.
Yeah, he's been absolutely dynamite down at Aqueduct. I mean, a horse that just loves the course time and time again. Goes to the front and just didn't look back, sat right off the pace, and very nice performance. I thought Backside of the Moon is a horse that's quite interesting. Thought it ran a really creditable second in that spot, and maybe a horse that you might get a price on next time out that could run a pretty good race. So.
Yeah, keep our eyes open there. But again, that was the undercard action at Aqueduct. We'll talk about the Gotham a little bit later on, but let's go down to Tampa and look at some of their undercard action. The Florida Oaks. As the name indicates, these are 3-year-old fillies. They're on the grass at a mile and a 16th. I'll tell you the disappointment in here for me was Altea. Makes a little bit of a late run. I put that one on top. Chad Brown horse coming over from Europe and just was way back early as the 5-2 second choice. Altea is the number 2 horse. Salsa Bella is going to be the favorite. That's the number 12 horse at 2-1. That one runs 5th. I was not so enamored with Salsa Bella, so I was more disappointed with Altea.
At this point in the stretch, though, it looks like the 2 is possibly going to get up at one point.
Yeah.
The 5 did a pretty good job to hold them off.
It was a nice late run. There's no question about it. But and I suppose coming over from Europe hadn't been seen since October. I suppose that's a decent kind of a comeback effort. I guess it was just disappointing that the horse was so far back early. But it is Jose Ortiz, so I'm assuming maybe the horse was just saying, "I want to be back here."
It was a little surprising to me that the price that Andina Del Sur went off at 13-1 because I liked the horse last time in that stakes at Gulfstream, and didn't run as well as obviously as he could have. But I thought it was a pretty good performance at 13-1. I mean, 13-1 was a huge overlay.
Yeah, I had Altea on top. Alman Roca, the number 4 horse in the second spot. She winds up running 6th in there, but a nice price is 6-1. But an even nicer price, I had Andina Del Sur in the 3rd spot, and 13-1. The morning line was 8-1, 13-1, and this one had run 3rd in the last 2 starts behind The Way I Am. And if you look at that 3-year-old fillies on the turf as a subdivision in itself, The Way I Am has to be the leader of that.
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
3 races, the 3 stakes races, won over at Gulfstream. So to finish 3rd behind her the last couple, I think flattered that one. So I was surprised she got away at a $28 mutual.
Yeah, again, it was the European blood that was coming over. Chad Brown, obviously names are attached. Then you just think they're going to be superstars. And the late closing kick was there. You know, that's what Europe is known for. And you know, there were good performances all around. Even the 9 kind of getting gutsy because at that point down the stretch, you thought it was going to be 5-2, but the 9 hanging on there for second. So that was a good performance.
All right, let's go on. And here's the one I alluded to a little bit earlier, the Hillsborough. We'll watch the stretch run. In the stretch run, keep your eyes on the number 5. The 5 is going to claim against the 10. I think the 5 has some momentum. You can see the 5 on the outside there has some momentum when the 10 comes out and stops that momentum. And we'll take a head-on look and a little more after this. But the 10 looks like a winner here. Comes out. The 5 loses all the forward momentum. And then 4-Star Crook, the other Chad in this race, gets it done. 4-Star Crook goes off and pays $9.80. This is a nice little New York bred owned by Michael Dubb. I liked Off Limits in here. The Chad horse that went off as the favorite, Off Limits, winds up running 5th as the number 2 horse. But it's 4-Star Crook over Proctor's Ledge. La Coronel, the 9, runs 4th. And Daddy's Little Darling runs... La Coronel runs 3rd. Daddy's Little Darling runs 4th, the 5.
Yeah, it was a pretty troubled 4th.
The 5 claims against the 10. And if the guys can pull up the photo finish photo, the 5 claims against the 10, and we wind up with a photo for show, which it's like 6 inches. Do we have the photo? No, we don't have. I'm being told we don't have the photo. So we don't also have the stretch, the head-on. Okay, we're finding out that. But anyway, the photo is.
But that would only help you in your case.
Here's the head-on, and you will see the 10 significantly come out there. Now, that's 5 pads. That the 5 horse had to move out.
So and especially since the horse got cost to position. Like
and
you said,
that's what I'm saying.
That is the most important thing
in the photo.
In the general rules that apply.
Yeah, in the photo you can see it. The 5 finishing 4th claimed against the 10 finishing 2nd. If the stewards looked and saw the photo and the said, oh well, the 5 wasn't going to get to the 10.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Right. You could state a 50-50 case.
It was literally like that the 5 missed the 3rd place finish. And as we saw in the stretch run there, he gets forward momentum has moved out 5 pads. They got to think it's 6 inches. So that to me,
I absolutely agree. That would have been what warranted it. It wouldn't have been the fact that obviously those 2 actually tussling, which one would have won. It would have been, did it cost me a position going forward? And then that's where the statement is applied, and that's where the DQ.
To me, clearly, it had to have at least potentially cost the horse that third place finish. And so as I sat in here after I got done yesterday, this race went off just after I got done, sat in here and watched it, and I looked at the replay, and that was before I saw the photo finish and saw how tight it was. I said, oh, this horse is coming down.
Right.
And when they didn't, that we talked about the San Felipe 55-45. This one to me was 95-5 in favor of the DQ.
Yeah.
I was amazed that they didn't take this horse down. That was, to me, was a bad non-DQ.
Well, that's always the question, and I've talked about it numerous times with people, and they always kind of wonder, do you think that stakes races are actually graded differently than as far as DQs go?
You hope not.
Yeah. I mean, the one out in Santa Anita, you have the hometown connection, Mike Smith and Bob Baffert. You think never, ever would they take down a horse, but they did out there. And then the one that kind of looks like it's a no-brainer doesn't happen, but again, it's a stakes race, so you don't really know. Again, general rules applying, it should have applied no matter what the condition is, but it's interesting. I mean, it's a viable question.
Yeah, it was, to me, that was a bad non-DQ, again, with the close finish between the third and the fourth place horses that had to have been affected by that movement in the stretch. But we move on. One more we'll take a look at before we go to a break. Take a look at the Kilroe out at Santa Anita, because, boy, there was a little bit of an upset here. Keep your eyes on the gray horse, the number 5 World Approval, who went off as the 1-2 favorite. And Mike just never fires. I mean, never in the stretch looked like there was before that gap closed, you thought might fire, but just never really. This was
one of our races on the stakes preview, and I actually had Bowie Sierra, and my long shot play was the 3, who almost got up there. They ran 2-3 last time to on a very nice performance. I just thought after World Approval's race against Forge and Fireway down at Tampa Bay, it was a workmanlike performance. You didn't really see the true World Approval. And then afterwards, Mark Casse says, we're not going over to Dubai to run in the turf anymore. So I kind of question possibly if maybe World Approval isn't as fit anymore. And then he goes out west, and he's done well out there before, obviously, being the Breeders' Cup champion, and he won at Del Mar. It was just one of those situations where you were just kind of tread lightly. You were a little weary about it, and obviously that's not the real World Approval that we know. Don't know what's wrong at this point, but yeah, like you said, it was a complete non-effort. He didn't really pick up at all.
That's a good point, though, because I had Mark Casse on, and they were talking at that point, we'll head over to Dubai, and so maybe the switch in plans kind of could have tipped.
Right, they knew.
Although the Kilroe's a pretty good race year after year, but yeah, maybe.
Normally, when you change your plans, it's something that you just have to look back, and kind of step back and say, maybe I'll just watch this race. And I knew he's going to go off at such a short price. I actually liked I thought last time's performance was pretty good. But I also liked the 2 that ended up running huge, and it was a good exacta because Bowie Sierra was a horse that time and time again runs well, and next year went off at a big price. I think almost $16.
I had those 2 in my mix as well. I agree, and the exacta was $230 for $2.
Yeah, you really got paid if you could look past World Approval.
Yeah, Bowie Sierra next shares and Channel Maker ran 3rd in there. Who I was with you, I had that one in my mix as well. That another disappointment, running 6th. Under Mike Smith.
With the other speed, what a view in there. It was kind of one of those situations where you hope that you didn't get into a little bit of a tussle. When I saw the fractions, I thought, and I saw World Approval sitting right behind. I figured he would come with his kick, but I knew that the other 2 were going to come because they did last time.
Yeah.
So.
All right, let's head to a break. When we come back, we'll do a little handicapping for Sunday afternoon. Also want to thank our friends at Gulfstream for their sponsorship. Gulfstream Park, champions start here. All right, we'll head to a break. When we come back, we'll take a look at some action for this afternoon. Stay tuned.
It may be cold in the Northeast, but in South Florida, the action's hot. This winter, be part of the championship meet at Gulfstream Park, where the fields are deep and the payouts are big. With some of the most competitive turf racing in America, Gulfstream Park is your winter destination for the finest in championship thoroughbred horse racing. And if you're looking for the top jockeys and best trainers, you'll find them all at Gulfstream Park. So play it today. Gulfstream Park. Champions start here.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player, to have a better knowledge of the game, to be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices, to know how to connect the dots? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool, but not the only tool. race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. These too are important tools, and you'll find them all right here at Capital OTB. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
In a recent study of some of the top online wagering sites, Capital OTB won big in total player rewards, far surpassing some of the best-known wagering sites in America. While other rewards programs simply offer you points redeemable for gift cards, Capital OTB's rebates are paid to you in actual cash. Plus, Capital OTB gives you full and immediate access to your money. So if all you're getting now are points and gift cards, join Capital OTB Player Rewards today and get cash back. Visit CapitalOTBBet.com and sign up today.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on a Sunday morning. Seth Merrow and Mike Callahan. We're going to do a little handicapping for Sunday afternoon. Mike, I'll set you up first here on a Sunday afternoon. We're going to take a look at Gulfstream Park's 5th race. I'll let you, because I don't.
Yeah, I took a look at 3 baby races because I saw some good pedigree. We're going to get some good prices on these horses because there's some top connections that I don't know if these are, obviously they're top horses for first-time starters. And we'll take a look at the number 1. We have 154 in the 5th year. I went with number 1, Mince, going out for Jimmy Jerkins in Centennial Farms, a big $320,000 purchase back in 2016. The Sire Candy Rides, 97 for 751. So that's pretty good first-time out stats. The Dam was 3 for 16. The last 2 works have been really solid, especially that February 26 work. Bullet work, 47 and 4 for 4 furlongs. I think the 3-to-1 morning line price is fair. You get a Rod Ortiz aboard first time on. I think that horse is going to be really good. Underneath the 5 at 6-to-1 to me looks dynamite. I also know Ron Nicoletti had this horse in the mix. It's D Squared going out for Mark Casse and Dixiana Farms. You get Tyler Gaffley on aboard. The last 2 workouts have been phenomenal, notably the last one out, first of 87. And again, that 6-to-1 morning price is very intriguing. Out of Spitestown, who wins 20% with first-time starters. And out of all the sires in this race, that is the top percentage. And then also the 4 Auto Strayed going out for Todd Pletcher. You get Johnny V aboard. This horse is going to be bet down from the 7-to-2 morning line price, a big $400,000 purchase. Giant Causeway first-time starters are 105 for 997, and the Dam was 2 for 10. Another viable horse. The workouts haven't been as sharp as the one in the 5, so you may need a race with this horse, but nonetheless, top connections. And I saw it 1, 5, and 4 in the 5th. All right, Seth, you're going to take a look at the Aqueduct 7th, which is a starter allowance. How'd you see it?
I went 7, 2, 4, and 6. There's nothing, jump off the page here, but I just thought maybe the top 3 were a little bit interesting. If the morning line holds up, maybe you could play around with those. The horse I have in the 4th spot kind of scares me as well, the Mark Casse running Davka. But I think 7, 2, 4, and 6 for me, all clear. It looks like it goes through this horse, but I think the other 2 on their best efforts are going to be up there as well. So again, take a look at the odds and maybe mix these up a little bit. But all clear in the career debut, looked pretty good for Danny Gargan. That was a maiden 40. Then tried a similar race last time, the starter 50. Going 6 furlongs and wound up pretty close up 3rd. The Buyer went backwards a little bit, but I think will benefit from that experience and probably the one to beat this afternoon. I'm an Ocala dude in the 2nd spot. Broke through the maiden ranks last time and did it pretty nicely. The Buyer figures have been moving forward. Obviously, moving from that maiden to the starter allowance is a jump. But I think, again, this horse with the figures moving in the right direction over the past few starts has just been kind of figuring it out and seems logical. At 5-to-1, Regalian is interesting in here. Broke the maiden 3 back for Chris Engelhart for a 50 tag. Then they got ambitious and tried the Jerome. Followed that up, that was a 4th place finish. Followed that up in a starter allowance last time and threw in maybe a little bit of a dud. Compared to the 2 races just prior. I'm going to kind of look at that as an aberration, maybe an educational experience. See if we get back to what we saw 2 and 3 starts back. And again, at 5-to-1, maybe a little bit of value here with Regalian. So in the Aqueduct 7th, 7, 2, 4, and 6. Mike, you're going to take a look at the Gulfstream Park 8th race.
Yeah, it's the mile and an eighth on the turf. It's a nice maiden special weight. A lot of first-time starters, and it's tough for me. First time out to believe sometimes that first-time starters will be able to go the distance. So a little weary of those. I'll go with the horses that have run, and we'll go with number 3, Shamrock Babe, going out for Billy Mott. Jose Lascano aboard. 8-1 on the morning line, so we're going to get a good price here. Horse took some money in the career debut at Churchill, faced the likes of Deadline and Coach Rocks, and Coach Rocks is a nice Roddy Valenti horse, teamed up with Rick Pitino. We're going to talk about a little bit later. Finished 7th that day, off the layoff last time out, finished 8th, but that was a race to watch out for because the 2nd and 4th place finishers both graduated next time out. Had the dreaded 13 post also going in that mile and 16th event at Gulfstream Park. I think we haven't seen the best from this horse. I think 2nd off the layoff is going to be very good out of Scat Daddy. I think this horse is a big play at 8-1, and that's number 3, Shamrock Babe. Underneath the number 1, Memorabilia. A first-time starter for Todd Pletcher. Javier's aboard. 9-2 on the morning line. The works have been steady. Horses out of Uncle Mo, 19% with first-time starters on turf and 17% with first-time starters in general. So those are very good stats. Is going to have to break well from the rail, get some position. I think of all the first-time starters in here, I think the 1 is probably the most eligible to win first time out. And then the number 2, Kensington, going out for Christophe Clement. Tyler Gaffley on aboard, 5-1 on the morning line. Christoph, second time starter percentage is very good. Since 2017, it's 22% with maiden second time out. So I think off that stat, you get Tyler aboard, even 6th place finish last time out. Took money in the debut. Out of Kitten's Joy, I think the 2 should definitely improve in this spot. I saw it 3, 1, 2, and 11 in the 8th. All right, we'll take a look at the Aqueduct 9th right now. It's a state-bred maiden claiming 30s. And how'd you see it?
There's a horse underneath that I thought was a little bit interesting that I'll toss out there, maybe get into the exotics. These are state-bred maiden claimers going 6. I have a 2, 9, 1, and 10. And I'm Master of the Obvious on top, Mizimpazzi. This is one of those races, state-bred maiden claimers. They haven't shown much so far. So you're just looking for a little consistency, maybe some numbers that are okay comparatively speaking is the key phrase there. But Mizimpazzi off the past couple. For Chris Engelhardt, probably the 1 to beat, 9-5 on the morning line. So again, Master of the Obvious, same with Formal Event, who the last few numbers have been okay and fit well with this bunch. Climb the Ladder is 6-1, so maybe a little bit of value there. A couple starts back when dropping in for a tag for the first time, showed some early speed and ran a nice 2nd. The follow-up wasn't as good, but it was on a muddy track, and now adds the blinkers today, so maybe we'll get closer to what we saw 2 back. But Desert Jazz, 12-1 on the morning line, really hasn't shown much so far. Takes another half step down the claiming ladder and moves into the barn of Jimmy Jerkins. Adds blinkers, but I say it occasionally when I'm talking about maiden races. Desert Party, to me, over the past 3, 4, 5 months, has kind of jumped out as a sneaky sire of win early types. The numbers aren't gaudy, but they're good enough that you have to pay a little bit of attention to, I think. And this one clearly hasn't lived up to that in the first couple. And I say a lot of times, these stats that I like to hang on to in the maiden races don't necessarily follow through in the maiden claiming events. But at 12-1 on the morning line, and with the potential, I think, maybe to kind of bounce up a little bit. Desert Jazz, a little bit interesting. Also interesting, Mike Luzzi is riding. I didn't hear any follow-up, but Mike, wasn't he down at Oaklawn
to start
the meet?
Yep.
So it looks like he has given up on the Oaklawn experiment and returned to New York. It may just be the time of year he was planning to do so anyway. But I find this horse, Desert Jazz, maybe a little bit interesting. And again, what might be a little bit of a price. The 9th at Aqueduct, 2, 9, 1, and 10. Mike, you're going to look at Gulfstream 11.
Yeah, it's another maiden special weight. They're going 6 furlongs, and I think a lot of money is going to be on the number 6, Shanghai Shuffle. I'll try to beat the 6, though, or the number 8, Cry Uncle. Going out for John Service and Luis Saez aboard, 5-2 on the morning line. Sire's Uncle Mo, 43 for 248 with first-time starters. It's very good percentage. The dam was a 2-time winner. I think the work on February 22nd was very strong. Nice bullet, first of 25. I think this horse just has better ability first time out. If you're taking a look at the 6, who's going to take a lot of money, and rightfully so, Todd Pletcher, Javier, and Starlight Racing, 2-1 on the morning line, probably go off somewhere around 1-1. But he's out of Shanghai Bobby, and he's a little slow with first-time starters, 4 for 58. The dam was a 2-time winner, but the works have been average at best. It's a big $275,000 purchase. May need a race in this spot and try to beat him as a short price. And then also the 5 I have in here, and that's 9th Degree, going out for Kelly Breen, who's had a pretty solid championship meet down there. 5 wins so far in 36 attempts. The sire was 24 for 166, and the dam was a 7-time winner. Nice 6-1 morning line price with Nick Juarez aboard. I think the 5 is a nice play at big odds, so I saw it 8, 5, 6. And we'll throw in the 1 there in the 11th.
Sounds good. Also want to remind people that the Kentucky Derby Future Pool winds up this evening at about 6 o'clock. So jump in and maybe take some shots there. Mike and I came up with a couple of ideas, perhaps. I'm going to talk a little bit about Combatant. We're going to watch the Southwest stretch run here. Combatant is going to make a nice move on the outside. I had him on top that day at 9-2. And Combatant, I thought at this point, oh, nice move on the outside. I've got this. Well, no, on the rail, Kent DeSormo sneaks up there with my boy Jack. And so this was just a race situation where my boy Jack, I think, got the jump and the nice run. But I thought Combatant was pretty good in here. Combatant, 50-1 on the morning line for the Derby Future Pool, has run second in the Southwest, second in the Smarty Jones. You go back to the end of last year, second in the Springboard Mile. And with those second place finishes, the 50-1 looked legitimate. Well, Mike, I just pulled up the current odds, and the betting started Friday afternoon. He's sitting at 47-1. It's Steve Asmussen. It's a horse that, 3 straight second place finishes. I'll be interested to see what he does. He'll clearly have one more before he goes to the Derby. And so if you pick up the 47-1, and I would assume probably Arkansas, he wins the Arkansas Derby, all of a sudden that looks pretty good. But even a good run in the Arkansas Derby, I think
it's going to be, and again, we were just talking about Santa Anita today. There's a monstrous horse first time out, Justify. He's going to try to go 2 turns. Looks like Bob Baffert's going to send him to the Arkansas Derby if he can do the 2 turns. That's where you're going to get the price, though, in Combatant, if that horse comes or not. But again, we talked about it time and time again. It's about the progression. And those second-place performances are solid enough where the horse is getting experience. He's starting to learn how to run. Obviously, my boy Jack rode the track bias that day. We talked about it on the show a couple weeks ago. And again, it's one of those horses that is progressing forward. You want to peak at that time, and you potentially could with a Combatant who's run quite well. So
yeah, it was a good run. As you say, my boy Jack comes up the rail, takes advantage of the bias, and looked good doing it, no question about it. But Combatant is well clear to the 3rd place finisher. It was a good run from that horse. Off the Smarty Jones, where he was 8-5, goes off at 9-2, so got a little bit overlooked by the betting public. And again, around the turn, I had Combatant. I thought, I'm sitting pretty. And just it didn't work out. But I think if you're getting 47-1 by the time 6 o'clock rolls around, I will get a little piece of Combatant.
Right, I mean, just
today.
$5 can really make the Kentucky Derby if that horse wins. So
yeah, and I'm also going to take a look. In the last pool, I jumped in on all others. So some of these upsets we've had over the past few weeks,
right, were notable names that keep coming on to the
played out well as for my all others. Unfortunately, I think all others in the last pool closed at 2-1. When I played, it was 5-2, which I thought was great. 2-1 still okay.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing at this point, I could have potentially, 5 or 6 or more in the gate.
Quip, who's on the scene now, obviously, after yesterday's performance in Tampa Bay. There's a couple other horses that are going to pop up in there as well. And again, it's one of those situations where some horses still haven't been seen, or we still have a lot of preps to run, and maybe we'll see someone kind of progressively move forward at that point.
And this is the pool where all others bumps up, because you would have to assume that out of the 23 individual entries that are here, you're going to have a pretty good number of them make it to the Kentucky Derby. This is the late pool, so we're getting 7-1 on all others. But again, Quip is in here, and it won't surprise me if we get a few more. So
I liked him as well. He was a horse that ran poorly last time out, was off of a layoff, but his first 2 races were very sharp. And if he can run like that, like he did yesterday, he's a player in there. Yeah, absolutely.
We'll talk a little bit more about the 3-year-old action in a few, but let's go to your long shot, and I'm just pulling up the current odds on the future pool. You're looking 30-1.
Yeah, Mendelssohn. Yeah, I follow European racing a lot. Obviously, Dubai selections every time that they run, and Mendelssohn's an interesting horse to me. We're going to bring up the stretch run of Friday's race where he was coming off of a layoff since he won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. And again, they're trying to get him on the road to the Derby. He's a $3 million purchase, a Coolmore horse that was.
He's in the light blue, second from
exactly.
the right, right?
He's closest to the rail right now. He's in the purple, kind of coming up right now.
He's
in the purple right now, coming up. And this is a mile race. He's bred to go as far as they want. He really likes it at about 1.25 miles, mile and a half, and obviously that's in the wheelhouse for the Kentucky Derby. Again, the $3 million purchase. He's a full brother to Beholder and Into Mischief. I know you like Into Mischief as a sire. And I think he's a big player in here. We haven't seen a European horse come over and make noise yet, and I think there's the potential. He's pointed to the UAE Derby, so on Dubai World Cup Day, he'll be running against a horse named Goldtown, who's also on this sheet, who's been unbelievable at Dubai. He's been absolutely crushing everybody there, and I think Mendelssohn and Goldtown will be a very nice matchup, obviously highlighted by the Florida Derby on that day, but also this race. And again, we kind of lose track of these horses. We don't get to see them predominantly because they're not over in North America. But we're bound to see one of these years where someone comes over and really makes some noise. I think he has a really nice stride. Obviously, he wasn't too explosive, but that was off of a long layoff. I think he's going to get better as time goes on. I think he's going to give Goldtown some fits out in Dubai. And if he's able to put it together, I think he's going to come over to America and do really well in the Kentucky Derby at a real nice price, too, 30-1.
And that was, Dundalk on Friday?
Dundalk, yeah.
Is that, do you know, I'm just trying to pull it up here quick. Is that a synthetic surface?
It is a synthetic surface. So. Obviously, it plays well to turf horses, the synthetic, but again...
It also shows, though, he's versatile.
Exactly. He's quite versatile, and Aidan O'Brien's already said he's out of Scat Daddy. He's got so much dirt pedigree there. He can run on both. Again, he took a little bit of time to get into form. His first couple races, he lost to a nice horse named U.S. Navy Flag. He finished second at big odds, but he's really kind of progressed. And again, we just talked about it. It's the progression factor. I think he's getting much better. Obviously, he won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, beat a lot of nice horses out at Del Mar. I think he's going to be a nice one at 30-1 right now.
And just before we wrap up, you mentioned it before, Coach Rocks for our friend Roddy Valente.
Yeah, that horse was dominant last time out. Is going to run on the Florida Derby undercard. I want to give Roddy a shout out. I think on this Oaks sheet right now is 30-1. So if you want to play the futures Pool 1 for the Oaks, Coach Rocks is definitely a horse to follow. Always rooting for Roddy. Teamed up with Rick Pitino. The race last time was terrific. They're pointing now to the Florida Derby undercard, and we're obviously rooting for Roddy and his horse.
No question about it. So there, again, the Kentucky Derby Future Pool and Oaks Pool closing this afternoon. Keep those in mind and jump in and get a little piece, and maybe you'll have a little added action as they enter the gate on the first Saturday in May. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we will reach out and touch base live from Southern California. I don't know whether he's at Santa Anita currently, although it wouldn't surprise me if he is over there, Clocker's Corner. Our friend Steve Bick out in Southern California all week with the radio show. We'll get some of his thoughts on the Southern California action from yesterday and the 3-year-old Derby Trail as well. All of that right after this. Stay tuned.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Sign up today for Capital OTB's handicapping series and plan your trip to Las Vegas.
In a recent study of some of the top online wagering sites, Capital OTB won big in total player rewards, far surpassing some of the best-known wagering sites in America. While other rewards programs simply offer you points redeemable for gift cards, Capital OTB's rebates are paid to you in actual cash. Plus, Capital OTB gives you full and immediate access to your money. So if all you're getting now are points and gift cards, join Capital OTB Player Rewards today and get cash back. Visit CapitalOTBBet.com and sign up today.
Funding your Capital OTB bet account is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Easy Money. Clearly the fastest and easiest method of depositing funds into your account. Make deposits or withdrawals in just minutes. 2. Green Dot Money Pack. Gives you instant access to your funds. Green Dot Money Packs are available at thousands of retailers nationwide. And 3. MasterCard Visa. Simply click on the link from the funding page, enter your account information, and fund your account. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. Seth Merrill and Mike Callahan in the studio, joined now by phone from our friend Steve Bick out in Southern California. Again, been out there all week doing the radio show Sirius and XM. Good morning, Steve.
I've been gone so long you forgot my name?
No, I had the name right. What, did I hesitate? I hesitate all the show. It's not just, yeah, no, I knew your name.
We call each other random names all the time. I think I screwed up at the start. I was going to call him Sully, who works with us as well.
No, I knew the name. The hesitation, though, is not that is no indication of anything.
Well, you were on our minds yesterday because I saw that Bingo Bango Bongo ran at Tampa.
As soon as you said that, I knew what you were referring to. Yeah, Bingo Bango Bongo. But talk a little bit before we get into some of the action from yesterday. Weather situation. It looked like obviously they were on the turf, and it looked like it was okay. It looked like it kind of went in the wrong direction as the day went along a little bit, though. It started to rain again towards the end of the day, correct?
Yeah, although the reality is it was supposed to be a complete washout.
Yeah.
If you woke up in the morning and when everybody was assembling early yesterday, the block of what was supposed to be rain all day was really daunting, and they were prepared for a washout kind of a day. And instead, it basically was misty for hours before the rain actually started. And so that made it at least able to get a lot of races in over a fast surface. They were able to run the Kilrow on a little slick course. There was certainly some water on top, just moisture. But really, for all intents and purposes, it was miraculous that they got the day in almost entirely. The last race coming off the turf, that's always frustrating. People that follow Saratoga know how difficult that is for everybody involved. But for the most part, it's remarkable that the day went as well as it did.
And I'll just toss out there, because you did mention the Kilrow. We watched that at the top of the show. We did some stakes reviews there. What were your thoughts on the Kilrow and the obviously disappointing performance from World Approval?
He was dull, and there's really no excuse. He didn't break great, but certainly had a comfortable enough trip, and he had no real answer when it came time to run. Now, that said, you have a really nice group of horses that were involved there. The winner has always had talent. Next Shares for Baltus is a horse that's moving forward. You saw Channel Maker coming late. That's a good group. I was disappointed. World Approval is a personal favorite, and I was a little surprised. And I also tried to lean through him when it came to the cross-country pick 4, but certainly understood that he could be beaten. I was surprised at how heavily bet he was. He was certainly overbet. But yeah, that was a dull effort, and he campaigned hard last year, and he is 7th. I mean, he's not a sprint ticket.
All right, let's move on to a couple of the highlights on the card yesterday at Santa Anita. Let's start out with the Big Cap Santa Anita Handicap. Opportunity scratches, that changed things a little bit. I had him underneath. I liked Accelerate. Accelerate, the number 7, is going to be the winner here as we watch the race. Mubtahiz runs second. So the favorites at 5-2 and 5-2 run 1-2. Fear the Cowboy third. Accelerate looks pretty good here, winning by a chart margin of 5.5. I was surprised with the scratch of Opportunity. He went off at 5-2 and paid $7.
It was interesting, actually, because I think the public was trying to make some interpretation of how the wet track was going to play, and giant expectations who broke poorly. That changed the complexion of the race. He took a tremendous amount of money, going off virtually even with Mubtahiz. Fear the Cowboy took a lot of money and garnered a lot of respect. Baffert had made it very clear going into the weekend. Brad Free had said on my show on Friday that if we had a wet track, the Opportunity was coming out. So there was that, I think, in the back of people's minds. It's just not his thing. Accelerate, that's a wonderful win, and Costa Hronis and John Sadler, they get I said last night on Twitter, a richly deserved big cap, and I know people have been carrying on that. Oh, it's not the old-fashioned big cap. Not every big cap is got to be Ali Sheba and Ferdinand. There's off years, and positioning of the race makes it a little bit awkward right now. They're going to work on some things to try to reinvigorate it. But Accelerate, a 110 buyer, 201 and change, racehorse time, and a great win. Espinosa's second in the big cap. But for Hronis and Sadler, who are a terrific owner-trainer combination out here, they've had one good horse after another, Stellar Wind, of course, and this horse is a serious, major handicap horse, and I thought it was a terrific performance, and even in the rain in the winner's circle, it was a happy scene. Accelerate, quite worthy. Muktahiz ran great. He was poised, and he seemed to be a bit of a talking horse with a lot of people coming in. Brad Free liked him a lot. Really no disappointments in here performance-wise, other than giant expectations starting poorly and not really getting involved the way it was expected to help the pace. But Accelerate, I think you could have run this thing 100 times. He might win 85 of them.
Yeah, and I heard it wasn't a strong big cap as well, but these aren't tomato cans. I think the handicap division out in Southern California, not stellar necessarily, but I think it's workmanlike, and I think it's a fun kind of strong division.
Well, all you have to do to bolster this race, at least in anybody's mind, is understand that West Coast is waiting for the World Cup, and then a horse like Pavel. O'Neill and Redham are going to Dubai with Pavel. I am not sure why.
Yeah, but I had John White on, and he said exactly the same thing. He thought Pavel was a better fit for the race yesterday.
I agree. So you put those two horses in this race, and all of a sudden you're thinking, wow, and then say a fast track and keep opportunity in. That's a 10-horse field that would be quite good. So there's some things that they got to do to make this race have the same cachet historically it had over the 8 decades it's been run. But certainly a winner that name-wise and quality of resume fits in big cap history.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's move on to the San Felipe and talk a little 3-year-old action. We'll look at the San Felipe, the Gotham, and the Tampa Bay Derby, but the San Felipe will start things out. A little controversy. We talked about it at the top of the show, Steve. I said they were looking at a couple of things around the turn and in the stretch. I didn't think anything of what happened on the turn. The incident in the stretch, I would have been maybe 55-45 in favor of the DQ, but I would have been perfectly fine with no DQ. I thought it was a gutsy performance by McKenzie, with Bolt d'Oro making a big move like he was going to go right by on the stretch, and McKenzie fought back and winds up finishing first, but then getting DQ'd to second subsequently. Nice third from Canthaka. I mean, this is a horse that's still lightly raced for West Point Thoroughbreds, but boy, the top two, I think we've been waiting along this Derby trail for the cream to rise to the top, and I think in this race, these two did.
Yeah, these are the two.
This disqualification is a total embarrassment, and the California stewards have been humiliating themselves on a regular basis for an extended period. This not only was the call preposterous, but the fact that it took 17 minutes, then they've got the temerity to say it was unanimous and it was conclusive. If it was so unanimous and conclusive, how does it take 17 minutes?
Yeah, I agree.
It's pathetic. And I will absolutely argue that at the top of the stretch, that is a very important moment. And that's absolutely part of this discussion, because Bolt d'Oro, here's Castellano, who is a notorious herder, a guy who is absolutely day in, day out herding other jocks. And he absolutely gave a hip check to McKenzie and sent him a little sideways. So I don't want to hear that that's not germane to what happens later down the stretch. Did Mike Smith maintain the left hand a little bit too much? And did he lean out a little bit? Yeah, he did. These are Hall of Fame riders. Let them ride. And what happened at the top of the stretch and what happens in deep stretch You put those together and you say, you know what? They're race riding each other. They're pros out there. Leave it alone. You don't look for a reason to take a horse down. You look at those. You look at this to basically maintain, and you have to find a reason to take one down. You're interfering with what's going on out there, and this is a terrible call. And frankly, there wasn't much separating them. And yes, they're going to come back and meet again probably in the Santa Anita Derby. But I'm sorry. And the stewards out here on a regular basis interject themselves into the racing, and they leave everybody just disgusted. And I don't get it. And everybody knew down on the apron what was coming. I mean, because when it went past about 6-7 minutes, it became obvious that they were looking for a way to put Bolt D'Oro up. Now, I'll give Mick Ruiz a lot of credit. He had the horse absolutely ready. Castellano did what he had to do. He was, he extricated the horse. He was pinned down inside and so forth. McKenzie does what McKenzie does, which is fight, down the lane. He's a tough monkey. And that was indeed, the race we were looking for to sort of elevate the entire Derby trail, because this is a pair of 101 buyers. These are real horses finally. So we'll go on from here, but a bad call.
The one thing you mentioned that I totally agree with, and I almost texted you. I was sitting in the studio here after I got done watching, and I almost shot you a text and said, what's taking so long out there? And if it takes that long,
it can't be unanimous if it takes that long.
If it's taking that long, then it's almost a non-DQ.
And that's where Steve's right. If it takes 17 minutes,
that long,
then it's not unanimous. There's no way you could say that. You could say maybe it was split or 2/3 or whatever it may be. It just can't be that.
I mean, that was not just unusually long. That was bizarrely long.
Correct.
Yeah. All right. Before we move on to some of the other stakes action, 3-year-old stakes action, talking about 3-year-olds before we came on the air. Mike mentioned a nice 3-year-old.
Yeah, I know you're high on him now that we talked before we came back on, but Justify, I mean, people obviously know yesterday was a big prep day, but there's also another horse looming, and I know you're high on him in Justify. He's going to stretch out to 2 turns. What are your thoughts with him?
Well, this is, adding to the weekend to a great extent. There's also the Ultimate Betting Challenge going on here and at Gulfstream, so that'll be fun. But when this race that was in the book, when it went and when it got the kind of field that it did, and it's a good field, not just Justify. This is a nice set of horses, including Sugar Me Timbers coming back and Pepe Tono, All Out Blitz, that Curly's Rocket, Baffert. I'm sure Baffert entered that horse, trying to make the race go. But Justify is the most exciting thing going that hasn't run in a stake, obviously. And here in this second start, a way to basically get an intermediate step toward whatever pre-Derby stake he's going to try. This is an important performance. It'll come at 4:34 Eastern Time today, and everything that's gone on since his win at the debut at 7 furlongs has just got certainly the people out here. Everybody that watches the workouts, Gary Young and Zoe Cadman, and you name it, they're all just, very eager to see, what we see today. I would be very surprised if it goes awry. This is a horse that Baffert knew back, late last year. He had to be patient with, and now that he's been unleashed, and with every passing day that he gallops and then works, he looks to shoulder his way right into the top end of this sophomore picture. And this is a serious Derby contender, and I think anybody who doesn't know it this morning will know it by 4:30 today.
All right, let's move on and get some of your thoughts on a couple of other Derby Trail races yesterday. We'll start out with the Gotham from Aqueduct. We'll watch the stretch run here, and Enticed gets back on track after kind of the disappointment in the Holy Bull. Enticed is the number 9 horse, wins by a chart margin at just about 3 lengths. Old Time Revival at 35-1, the rank outsider in the field. Before I went off the air yesterday, I said I didn't have Old Time Revival in the mix, but I said, watch out, might be interesting. Coming out of that race at Laurel, an Old Time Revival, a gutsy, nice second place finish. Free drop Billy maybe disappoints a little bit with the third running that placing as the 8-5 favorite under Dylan Davis, but it was a nice return to form for Enticed. What were your thoughts on the Gotham?
Gotham was interesting. Enticed gets a 95 buyer out of this. You talk about Old Time Revival as well. Kenny Decker, who trains almost privately but maybe he does actually train privately for Fred Bry. Jacks are better. And his performance stretching out, not stretching out per se, because he's still going one turn. He hasn't gone two turns down at Laurel. Of course, he gets the one-turn mile as well. But he's a hard-trying horse, and I thought he was a winner in mid-stretch. Actually, you look actually at his performance and World of Trouble's performance at Tampa. They were very similar. World of Trouble, you could see, gets tired late. I don't know how tired Old Time Revival got. I think he got overwhelmed by a better horse. Let's just be frank. And here's the Godolphin homebred, Theodoro out of the wonderful It's Tricky, and it's funny on the backstretch approaching the turn. It looked like he was kind of spinning his wheels a little bit, and then all of a sudden, Junior Alvarado. The minute you thought, Enticed is doing nothing here, all of a sudden, then he engaged, and he cruised up to the outside of the leaders, and that's a very good performance. Kieran McLaughlin's got to be thrilled. This worked out very well for him. Didn't work out as well for Free Drop Billy, who just may not be all that terrific. I don't know what to make of this, and of course he was dropping back to a one-turn mile. Firenze Fire, I don't think he was ever in a place where he was comfortable. He gets a few more points. Didn't get the kind of point that he needed to guarantee a Derby slot. So we'll see where he goes from here, and what Ron Lombardi and Jason Service want to do. That was, I suppose, one of the bigger disappointments of the three prep performances. Firenze Fire, having to settle for a kind of a distant fourth in here. But Kieran in great shape and got Enticed, and he's got the other whatchamacallit to Avery Island. He's got Avery Island coming up a couple of weeks.
This is kind of interesting. I, as we were talking, I was curious what Enticed with the win yesterday was going to attract on the Derby Future Pool. He's not in Derby Future Pool 3.
How about that? So you get him in your all others.
That's 7-1 right now. So I may have to jump in for some more all others this week. That's interesting.
That's you jump into the pool and put on.
Well, we were talking about because you get Quip as well. So you're going to get Quip and you're going to get Enticed in the all others who aren't on the list right now. So.
Yeah, and let's jump in and talk Quip. Before we let you go, Steve, let's go to the Tampa Bay Derby and watch the stretch run there, because a little bit of an upset at 19-1. Number 10, Quip wins. 5, Flame Away runs second. And as you say, and a horse I like, I took a shot with Untamed Domain. I thought World of Trouble and Flame Away might knock each other out a little bit and set it up. It turns out the dirt experiment did not work out well for Untamed Domain. The number 9 horse runs 6th in here. But World of Trouble, I was surprised he went off as the favorite. And as you say, we see him just getting caught there at the wire to run 3rd. I thought that was a nice performance from World of Trouble. I was surprised, though. Went off as the 8-5 favorite in there. But at 19-1, Quip wins under Flojo. What were your thoughts about the Tampa Bay Derby?
My thoughts are that we have a frightening scenario involving WinStar China Horse Club and SF Bloodstock. They own Quip. WinStar bred him. The same group already has Audible. They have Justify. They've got New York Central that's going to the Sunland Derby, and they had that Sunday allowance winner, National Flag, as well a couple of weeks ago at Gulfstream with a 98 buyer, and certainly he's going to stretch out and try a stake spot as well. So the WinStar China Horse Club SF juggernaut. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, they literally, it's possible that an ownership group could have 20% of the Derby field by the time we get to Louisville, and it's stunning. And they bred, and Winstar bred Bull Toro. So it's really quite a story. Obviously, Rodolphe Brissett, who's been training on his own, 18 months or so, former Mott assistant and exercise rider. It's a huge win for him. It gives him a chance to get some attention. This is a horse that a number of people were waiting for, keeping an eye on him at the fairgrounds and where he might turn up. And now you kind of know why. He's not really bred necessarily for 10 furlongs, but we'll see. We'll see about the next.
That Kentucky Jockey Club has turned out to be quite a race, though. Enticing wins the Gotham. Promises fulfilled last week, coming out of that as the last race, and Quip came out of that as the last race.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a great 3-year-old debut, and there's also a story to be told about Florent Geroux, who made a specific point, from what I understand, of wanting to maintain the mount on Quip, and did not want to lose track of this horse. And so Geroux proves to be kind of savvy on that front and locking himself on. I'll also mention, you said Flame Away. Flame Away is a plucky contender, and this is a horse that doesn't stop running. And horses like this can be very useful in the Derby. Here's another one that is sort of bred for intermediate distance. Scat Daddy out of the Foupeg mare, but he's a hard trier, and I think the most encouraging thing about this, I expect, for the Cassie team and Jack Oxley, is that he didn't have to go to the lead to get involved in this race, and the way he was running late is very encouraging in terms of 9 furlongs. So we'll watch for. I'm going to assume, because it's Oxley, I assume they'll go to the Bluegrass, but Flame Away is going to be in the Derby and has done very little wrong since the beginning of the year.
Before we let you go, speaking of going to the Bluegrass, it reminded me, what were your thoughts on Good Magic last week?
Well, I think it's troubling, and it's clearly a problematic start to the campaign. I think it raises some questions about his distance limitations. And Chad Brown, for Chad Brown to be surprised by his own horse's fitness, that I've talked about that extensively the last 2 weeks. And in fact, I asked several people that, particularly Zoe Cadman, actually, about that this past week. And I asked her what she thought as somebody who rode in the afternoon and rode plenty in the mornings. How typical is it that connections get a little fooled about the fitness level? You can look at the horse and you can see that if there was some winter weight and they trimmed down and they tucked up a little, they look fit. They don't seem to be breathing hard when they work, and then they go out on race day and come back blowing. It happens, and so obviously it happens to the best of them. If Chad Brown comes back and says, "Gosh, he needed this race." So he'll get a lot out of it, but it's crunch time. Not just, yes, he'll make the Derby and all, but still, he took a little bloom off his rose.
Yeah, I agree. I think everybody does. Steve, before we let you go, got to wrap up, but give us a little update. I know the At the Races SiriusXM road trip continues this week. What's the game plan going to be for this week on the radio show?
Well, we'll do some recapping from here at Arcadia tomorrow and Tuesday. Then we'll go to New Orleans, where we'll attend, again, the HPPA convention. We'll bring a lot of the horsemen and the horsemen's perspective on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's kind of a little bit of a quiet week. I mean, in terms of Derby preps, I had a hard time saying no to staying in New Orleans a full week leading up to Louisiana Derby. I could not do it. You need a crane to lift me out of there if I spent 11 days in New Orleans. So but we'll head home, and then we'll come back to California, actually, for Santa Anita Derby week.
Nice. And, of course, folks can catch replays here as well. Steve, appreciate the visit, and travel safe. Should also remind people you're doing a little handicapping on Quigley's Corner today, right?
I am. I got the TQ today, and then we'll be on hand around the building, keeping tabs on that Ultimate Betting Challenge. A lot of big-time players have moved on from the Horse Player World Series at the Orleans the last 3 days. In fact, Paul Matisse, who I flew out to Albany to Chicago with, Paul brought the family to Vegas for a few days, and he's coming here today. So Paul's going to try to parlay the weekend into a run in the UBC. Paul ended up, I think he said, 18th and 25th in the World Series. Had to put in a couple of nice runs. He was as high as second mid-afternoon yesterday, and then just couldn't close out, really. He couldn't get the kind of hit that he needed to propel him to the top. But as always, dangerous as can be, and he and Duke will be here, I think, later today. And what else?
I told you on the radio show, I was on the radio show with you a few days later, but I haven't done it here on TV. We had Pete Fornatal here on the Saturday morning a couple of weeks ago, so I said it to him. But you and Pete, it's funny. You think, radio show covering a horse racing handicapping tournament. How good can that be? But once again, you knocked it out of the park. Very compelling. When I got home that Sunday afternoon, the last day of the NHC out in Vegas, I tuned in the radio show. You had both the Matisse brothers sitting in with you. And it's I highly recommend it for people who haven't done it before to tune in over the 3 days of the contest, because it's really entertaining.
It's funny you bring it up, because I've had a number of people, number of players that I saw here this week and yesterday, actually, that they're captivated by it. And in fact, the funniest thing are guys that are playing in the NHC, and they go back to their room and they start handicapping for the next day, and they say that they pull it up and they listen to the coverage and gain insight. And Mike Maloney, of course, who wrote Betting with an Edge and one of the top players, he said he got home from Vegas, and about a week later he sat down. He said he listened to 11 straight hours of the Saturday and Sunday coverage, and you get insight from some of the best players on the contest scene, and it's become a thing that it's one of the highlights of the broadcast year now. Everybody says, "Oh, you go to Vegas?" Yeah, of course, and people just love it, and it's also generated a lot of interest from people who get excited. They're listening, just like the Jets. And then they end up getting on the contest scene. That kid, Dan Hart, that finished 10th.
But doesn't Kinchin credit you with getting into the contest scene?
Yeah, Kinchin had gotten friendly with Nick Tamero, so he started listening to Nick and me, and then he heard me and Pete, and that got him interested. Pete Dressens is another guy who was listening 2 years ago to the coverage and decided to try the tour and try the NHC sequence, and he ended up finishing like 35th his first year. So it's pretty funny. You do get, it's infectious. You do get the buzz off of it. There's no doubt.
Yeah, it's, as I say, very entertaining. And the two Matisse brothers this year were fun to listen to over the last couple hours. Steve, got to go. We're running late, but as always, appreciate the visit. Enjoy your next couple of days in Southern California. Travel safe. We'll talk again.
Absolutely. Thanks, Seth. Thanks. Talk soon.
All right, Steve Bick, live from Southern California. Again, a couple more days there on the radio show, then he heads down to New Orleans. Mike, I guess it's time to wrap things up, but as you mentioned, Justified today, folks want to pay attention
Definitely,
to that one.
It's a very intriguing horse off that first-time race. Unbelievable. 104 Beyer, see if you can repeat that. See kind of race dynamics. There's some speed coming from the 1, too, so we'll see if he comes from off the pace. If he can rate, he's a giant player, like Steve said. So.
And Kentucky Derby future pool, again, to go back to our long shot plays, I like Combatant, who's sitting at about 47-1 currently, and you like 30-1.
Mendelssohn. I like Mendelssohn. Yeah, I think he's a big player. He's going to go in the UAE Derby here in a couple weeks. Aiden O'Brien, Ryan Moore, they're going to come over. And again, we haven't seen anybody from Europe come over and do it yet, but we're bound to see it, and I think he's a player. So.
All right, just want to remind you that starting on Thursday, there is the NCAA Mega March Madness. Yeah, Thursday through Sunday. If you come down here to the Clubhouse Racebook, obviously all the games on the TVs, but you can enjoy all the racing action as well. And Mike, as the marketing department guy, the prize wheel as well.
Yes. So we attach your name to the squares board. If the halftime score or the final score matches, you get to spin the wheel. We also have an added bonus this year. We got some nice hoodies, NCAA hoodies, so we'll attach that as part of the prize wheel. You can win some money, or you can win that nice NCAA hoodie. Again, it's terrific. The tourney's Selection Sunday today. We'll see where everybody fills out, who's in, who's out. I know there are still a couple automatic bids to lock up in here, but again, everybody loves it. It's a great time. Come down. You have horse racing, you have basketball. What can be better? It's a great time.
Thursday through Sunday, so it should be a lot of fun. Bet 50, get 50 continues through the month of March. Don't forget, sign up for a new account, bet $50 in. You get $50 put in to your account.
And Florida bonus on Wednesdays. We've been doing that. 1% Florida bonus. So definitely note that. Take advantage of it. Bet $200 or more at Tampa Bay and Gulfstream. Receive a 1% bonus back. It's great. Always good to get additional money back. So.
And mark your calendars. I don't think I'll see you before then, but Mike Callahan comes in with the bankroll.
I got it. This is
2 weeks from.
Sully actually had a pretty good one. I know we ended up striking on the end, but he had a couple nice winners. And again, you get around that weird number of like 270, and you're attached to 30 people, and it's either $5 or $6, or the public says send it.
It's
and
funny,
you just kind of send it. It's a weird dynamic.
And it's got to be your day. And I know early on, Sully was hitting some nice.
He was.
But you're kind of playing, and until it gets to the last half of the day, it's hard to really feel confident to take shots. So it's a funny situation. But if things are going your way, everybody can wind up with a nice piece of cash.
I have the range on the 23rd, so I appreciate it.
So again, mark that on your calendar. That's coming up on March 23rd, right here at the Clubhouse, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. Okay, again, as I say. We are a little late, so we'll go to the Gulfstream. I think the pregame show is already going. Gulfstream Park, champion start here. I'd like to thank them for their sponsorship. We will step back. I'll be back in about an hour and 15 or so with OTB Live for Sunday afternoon. Mike, thanks.
Thank you as well.
Good luck to all of you out there, and we'll see you in a few.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.